4 feet of snow. You know, it's okay. But sometimes dressing for success matters. And it has a tendency, if you've got some kind, are you ready? Okay. All right, we're ready to start. Come on down. Here it is. So I got a hearing that I've got to call in for. See, debate coaching is not my occupation. Debate coaching is just something that I do because this activity is the single best thing that any person can do, regardless of whether you want to organize communities, run for political office, become a mom, a dad, a grandparent. This is the best thing you could ever do. And the object of this lesson is to, at the end of the day, give you how to find the greatest card ever written, and to talk about what debate can and should do, regardless of the type of argument choices or the style of debating that you want to get into. Everything that can be debated will be debated. Nobody is right. Not even me. I'm not right about what debate is. Nobody is. That's why they call it debate, because there are 2 or more sides to everything. Arguments began when one cave person said, we're going to start a fire by striking 2 rocks together. And the other person said, no, that's stupid. Let's rub 2 sticks together. That's a debate. There is no one right way. Everything that can be debated will be debated. And trust me, everything can be debated. You become a great debater only by making it you. The young person who came up to me last night and felt bad and told me that she felt bad about how sarcastic or caustic I was in talking about critical argumentation. She's going to be a great debater. She is a great debater. You have to have the guts to be able to stand up for your position. You have to have the temerity and the tenacity to believe what you believe in. And you have to be able to express it. Debate is about talking. Debate is about communicating. Debate is about letting out both your feelings and your thoughts and your logic and your arguments. You have to make it you. And it is on you. It's not on your partner. It's not on your coach. It's not on your mom or your dad or your brother or your sister or your friend. It's on you. Make an individual responsible decision. And then you have to keep it as you. You have to decide you want to do this and you want to do it well. What I've told you isn't going to win you any debate. It's not going to win you every debate. It might win you a debate. It might win you a lot of debates. But what I told you is how you can do things to make it you throughout your debate career. Your job, like the young person that came up to me last night, is to dare to be great. Your job is to dare to be expressive. Your job is to dare to stand up to authority. Your job is to dare to explain to others what you feel. Your job is to dare to explain to others what you think. To stand idly by and silent is to be complicit in what you may perceive to be wrongdoing. To stand idly by and not tell me that I was being too caustic or sarcastic about argument choices or personal responsibility or personal beliefs is to be complicit in allowing that to happen. The idea isn't to say that you've got to complain about everything. The idea is to say that you have to dare to be great. And daring to be great means you step out from your comfort zone. Daring to be great means you step out from doing nothing to doing something that matters. Repetition can be boring, but I don't want you to leave this institute, and I don't want you to leave my lectures, because I'm headed to San Diego I won't see you again. I may not judge you anytime, unless you're from California, in which case maybe I'll be ruining your lives. But becoming a great debater means that you are going to be a great student. It really does. Grades matter. And the reason why grades matter is because it makes it much easier for you to get to go to tournaments. You can't be a debater. Policy, critical, identity, performance. You can't be any kind of debater. Hell, you can't even be a Lincoln Douglas debater if you don't get to go to debate tournaments. The only way you get to go to debate tournaments is if you keep your grades up. Trust me, it happens not only in high school, it happens in college as well. You want to go to Harvard Law School, you want to go to Michigan Law School, you want to go to Stanford Law School, you get A's in college. It still matters. Grades matter. The second way you become a great debater is to be a great son or daughter. You cannot do this without your parents or guardians. You can't. Promise me that tonight, after 1 week at the Institute, you'll call home and say, thank you, Mom, thank you, Dad, thank you, Guardian, thank you, Grandma, for letting me do this. Make them want to be part of your life. So many parents sit in the stands late on a Friday night and watch their sons beat their heads together playing football, and they stand up and cheer, and the parents are in the audience. So many parents sit in the stands late on Friday nights and watch their sons or daughters jump up and down as cheerleaders. They invest themselves. Too many people don't let their parents come to debate tournaments. Invite their parents. Let them come. Encourage them to be there. The reason is they really care about what you are doing. My son had the greatest disadvantage in the world. I was his debate coach because he didn't have a debate coach. I was there. My God, at every tournament he went to. You can't have any fun. He had a hell of a good time. And your parents being invested in learning what's going on matters. The smartest person I know or ever met was my mother. The second smartest is my wife. Don't tell her that she's the second smartest. She said the best gift I ever gave my son was the gift of debate. And it's true. The best gift you can ever give your parents is to let them be part of your life. And if debate is part of your life, allow your parents to become part of your life, even if you make crazy arguments. Families matter, and please communicate with them. Third, be a great listener. I swear. If you don't listen, you can't answer cross-examination questions. If you don't listen, you can't use the answers that you get to be a good debater, to win a debate. You have to be a great listener. You listen to your coaches. You listen to the advice that you're giving. You listen to the people that are directing you. You listen to your partner. As dumb as your partner is, you listen to them. It doesn't mean you always have to follow their advice. But it does mean when they say, no, you dropped a condo, you might want to answer that. It does mean that sometimes they say something smart that might help you win a debate round. The best debaters are the best listeners who hear and comprehend. This is how you do it. You work. You work by reading and by thinking and by understanding what arguments are. You speak. You constantly speak. You have the temerity to come up to the instructor who is a 60-plus-year-old person and say, I didn't like what you said about. You have guts. You speak your mind, you talk, you explain. And most importantly, you make arguments. In terms of speaking and drills, I've never been a big fan of it. I never encouraged kids to do it, but you should. You should read the words you are going to read in a debate round before the debate round. You should practice them. You should understand what the words mean. You should understand how to pronounce the words correctly. You want to get great speaker points? Know what the big words are. Understand what the definitions are. Understand what it is that you're trying to say, but also speak those words and read them. The biggest part about debate that I don't like is that debate isn't about talking. Modern debate, both high school and college, is about reading, except in the rebuttals, and then sometimes it gets to the element of persuasion. Don't just debate into your laptop screen. Debate to the audience. Debate to the critic. Debate to the judge. That means you speak, you're not just reading. And finally, debate is a lot about feeling. You have to feel the room. You have to feel what the atmosphere is. You have to feel the tensions that are going on. But that requires you to make judgments. And see, the beauty of this activity is that you get to learn about people. And when you're done with debating, you get to go and see the exact same kind of people that you debated against in the real world. When you go into a board meeting, when you're an RA in a college dorm, when you're teaching at a summer institute, you get to see and read people. So debate is a lot about feeling and having empathy and having understanding. And it's also about projecting. It's about explaining yourself, but making yourself be understood and clear. I don't know how many times at institutes or in your classrooms or from your coaches, they tell you these things. I always used to tell my son and his teammates, there are no rules in debate. But you know, there really are. And these are my rules. These are my no rules and my yes rules. Don't lie. One of the great tournaments is the Montgomery Bell Academy tournament. And it's a great tournament not just because they're great administration and great food and great environment and everything else. Montgomery Bell, Tails, nice stop. Good hands there. Because otherwise I would have stepped on it and broke my ankle and not been able to fly home. The Montgomery Bell Academy tournament is great because they have these benches. And the benches are outside of the back side of the quad area. And on the benches, one of the benches is a thing that says, it takes a lifetime to build a reputation. It takes one time to ruin it. It does take a lifetime to build a reputation as being an honest human being and credible human being. It takes one time getting caught lying to make you be perceived as being a liar. So don't lie in cross-acts, and especially don't lie in disclosure. Don't lie anytime, but don't lie in disclosure. Be complete. Doesn't matter. The best debates are arguments that other teams develop that you have thought about and need to answer. Don't cut cards badly. Don't cut the word not out of a piece of evidence and think it's going to be a great piece of evidence. It's not going to be a great piece of evidence if you eliminate the word not. Somebody's going to find it, no matter how small the font is. And don't clip cards while you're debating. Clipping cards means that you highlight 10 words in a card, but you only read 8 of them. Thinking, and the judge thinks, and the other team thinks, you've read all 10. You don't clip cards. If you highlight something, you let the other team know you've read the highlights. If you eliminate a highlighted word, you have to let the judge and the other team know you marked the card because you didn't read that word. Debates are judged based upon what is said in the round. Don't let people believe you have said something that you didn't say. You need to be proactive about the integrity and honesty of what you have said versus what you haven't said. And don't steal stuff. Don't steal other people's evidence off flash drives. If they give you the flash drive, you use the flash drive. You don't go through the flash drive and get their other stuff. Don't plagiarize without giving accreditation to whoever it is that the source is of your evidence. Plagiarizing is not a good thing. It is a deceptive thing. It is a fraudulent thing. Don't plagiarize. And the contrasting opposite in this beautifully drawn PowerPoint are the yes rules. tell the truth. Honor if a tournament has rules about what you can do and can't do what you can, don't do what you can't. Particularly with respect to wikis. Some tournaments are very, very rule conscious. Green Help, for example. Very conscious about what you put on the wiki and when you get it on. St. Mark's, for example. Be honest and honorable about what you've read. Disclose what your source is. Don't modify the URL so people can't find your cards. Be honest about the wiki. Elimination rounds is really kind of interesting because most elimination rounds are flip for sides. Don't tell teams you're going to run a new app if you're not going to run a new app. Don't tell teams you're not going to run a new app if you are going to run a new app. Be truthful about what you are going to do in your elimination rounds. If you make an agreement with a team that you will run a certain advantage or not include a certain thing in your case, don't include it. If you have run an argument and extended that in a 2NR in a prior round and they say, what have your last 4 2NRs been? Tell them the truth. Especially in elimination rounds, you have to honor agreements that you make because it's nasty when you don't. And with respect to the evidence, give full sources to your ev. Make sure that everyone knows what the source is and how they can find it. Don't hide your evidence. Truly, it does take a lifetime to build a reputation. It just takes one time to ruin it. For you, for me, for everybody, debate ends. It can end voluntarily. You may finish with the camp and say, you know, I don't like this. A lot of people, based upon the way debate is going, say, I don't like this. I'm going to retire. I'm getting done. And these are some very, very, very great debaters and debate coaches and debate teachers and students. You can voluntarily end at any time. You don't have to do this. You get to do this. Debate can end involuntarily. Somebody else's choice. Your teachers say you're not allowed to miss another class. Don't miss another class. That means you don't go to a debate tournament. That means debate is ended for you for that semester or that year or with that teacher. Debate can end involuntarily because your parents say we can't afford it anymore. And that's one of the biggest, saddest things about high school and certainly about college as well. Doing this is expensive as all get out. For those of you who don't know, hotel rooms sometimes cost $100 a night, even if they put 4 of you in a room. That's $25 a person times 3 nights. That's $75 typically that your parents have to spend just on hotel rooms. And if they're paying for your airfare across country or down to Florida or up to Boston or into Chicago, and you're coming from Coral Gables, or you're coming from San Diego, or you're coming from Seattle, or you're heading out from Chicago to one of those places, it's another $300. So a weekend for you, in addition to whatever they have spent on you or you have spent, earned, and spent to come to the Institute, is $400. And that's just hotel room and airfare. What about the rental car? What about food? It gets expensive. So debate can end involuntarily because of financial reasons, and that's really sad. If you don't want to end debate because of financial reasons, that means you have to invest yourself in trying to make money, get contributions, solicit funds to keep your own program going. And that's a hard thing to do because you want to win. And raising money at the same time you're trying to get your debate stuff going isn't easy. But it's still something that you need to think about because debate is expensive. But inevitably debate does end. You will have your last round. And it can be a sad occasion. I've ended people's careers in the 8th round of the NDT for the last 4 years. I've ended people's careers in elimination rounds at the NDT or at the TOC in the semis or quarters or earlier rounds. And that's sad, especially for those of you who have spent 4 years of your life trying to get to a place in debate and make debate important to yourself. Dr. Glass, as I told you last night, is the world's leading expert on the disease that Michael has, singular muscular atrophy. It was funny and great for me that one of my first debaters, a 14-year-old little Jewish kid from Bronx Science High School in New York, who I taught at the Harvard Debate Institute in 1975, and who went home to his very Jewish Orthodox parents and said, I have an affirmative. We're going to legalize marijuana. Oh my God, the phone call I got from his mother. You're teaching my 14-year-old son what? The idea is that Dr. Glass is the world's leading expert on the disease that Michael has. And the best thing I ever did, even though my debate career was over, was get the chance to let Michael talk to David Glass. And what Michael did was learn that there is someone out there, that there's a connection that he has, where if he can't get a hold of his parents, if he's having a physical problem and can't get a hold of his mom or his dad or his doctor, he can call Dr. Glass in Switzerland, he can call Dr. Glass in Cambridge, and he can say, this is what's going on with me. And you know what? The beauty of it is, all my debate rounds were done, but two of my debaters can help each other, even though there is no more debate. And that's really what debate can do to you. Debate ends, but debating never ends. Debating isn't just about the arguments, debating is about the people. At a personal level, you will always be in some kind of a discussion with somebody. You can make it an argument, or you can make it a discussion. But how you participate in that discussion makes a huge difference. In your professional career, whatever that's going to be. In my mind, the most noble people on the planet are the John Lawsons of this world who come back to debate and be debate teachers. They're the Casey Harrigans of this world and the Maggies of this world who debate and realize that this activity is so important that they want to devote their life to teaching the activity. That's a profession. And that's a profession that makes a profound difference for tomorrow. A lot of the debaters of my era became lawyers because that's what we did. We did plans and we figured out how things work. And a lot of us became bankruptcy lawyers because we put plans together for distressed businesses. And those distressed businesses get turned around, and that creates jobs, and that keeps people's investments. Whatever you choose to do, a lot of debaters go into politics, as we'll find out, but whatever you choose to do with your life, debate will have an impact on how successful you are in your professional life. Debate will turn you on to possibilities. You can see what is out there. The debate friends you make will be the kind of people that you will want to deal with, despite what it may seem like now, particularly if they haven't showered in a week. It happens. Eventually they'll learn how to do that. But the people in this room are people that you may stay friends with forever. I don't remember any, but, well, yeah, I do. People that I taught in institutes. Jeff Pash, who is the general counsel of the National Football League, one of my earliest debaters at Red Line. Just inducted him into the Boy State Hall of Fame in California. People that I remember who have done something and have gone on to do things in their lives. Debate is about the possible for your future engagement and dealing with people. And debate is about the practical. You will use the debate skills that you have learned in everything that you do, whether it is with your spouse, your significant other, your children, or your grandchildren. I get the crap beat out of me by my 7-year-old granddaughter. She's smarter than I am, and it takes every debate technique that I have to be able to convince her to put her books down and go to sleep. Debate lessons matter. I'm still on top of my 2-year-old grandson because we make deals. All right, if I let you watch Paw Patrol one more time, you will go to bed. Is that a deal? Yes. And he honors the deal. So I still got him fooled. Make him deals. He's 2, and he's smarter than I am. And now you're wondering, what the hell was this guy here talking to us for 4 hours for? He's not even as smart as a 2-year-old. I'm not. But he's a really smart 2-year-old. I want to emphasize that everything is debatable. I want to apologize again to anybody I may have offended in talking about the type of arguments you want to make. Believe me, I'm an equal opportunity offender. I offend as much about nuclear war impacts as I do about topicality, as I do about the absence of solvency for any critique alternative. That's what I don't believe I have ever seen. It's an empirical thing. I don't believe I've ever seen a card where a critical alternative solves any problem, much less the problem that the critique is talking about. That's just me. But you have to listen to people, and you have to hear the points that they're making, and you have to make an effort to understand what it is that they're saying. Now, I've told you a little bit about the kind of arguments my son made. On the negative, he ran a critique called Kepler. You should love people. He ran a critique called Agamben. State power is bad. He ran a critique called Foucault. State power is really bad. It leads to genocide. I don't, like I say, I never gave him arguments, but I gave him the license to make his own arguments. That's what you have. Don't listen to me and say, this is what I must do to win. No. What you must do to win is what you decide to do to win. I've just tried to tell you how to win. The most important function of debate is to respond. See, debate is about clash. Debate is about answering arguments as much as it is about making arguments. That fulcrum between their arguments and your arguments, that little piece in between, is what makes the difference between a good debater and a great debater. The great debater focuses on that middle part, that juxtaposition between their arguments and your arguments. You have to be a presenter. You have to understand that you got to make your case, and you have to tell why your case matters more than their case. We've been through this before. 2 different types of debating. Everything's an argument. Direct refutation, attacking the proof, attacking the assumptions behind the proof. The best form of argument is to turn. Turn the other team's argument against them. Your argument is why I win. Go home with the thought and visual in mind of ripping the other team's arm off and beating them over the head with their own arm. Go home with the visual of feeding them their fingers one at a time. If you remember the visual, you will understand that using the other team's argument against them is the best, most effective, critical thinking way you can win, not just a debate, but win any argument. A way to win an argument is to attack the links of an argument. If the links are too indirect or remote, attack the links. If the links aren't causal, if one doesn't create or link to or cause the second link in the chain, attack the absence of the connection. Always look to whether or not a solvency advocate is reverse causal. The solvency advocate may say this is the problem and a solution is, but the solvency advocate may not go the next step and say, if you do this, the problem will end. Look toward causality in terms of solvency, and that will help you immensely in winning your debate. On an impact debate, I listen to arguments that say impacts are tenuous and not probable. The risk of whether or not something will happen doesn't necessarily mean it will happen. There is a term called Bayesian analysis, which is a mathematical term applied to argumentation. B-E-Y-S-I-A-N, Bayesian analysis. Bayesian analysis says you take the number in terms of the size of the impact You multiply that by the probability that the impact will occur, and you yield a conclusory number. And that conclusory number that you get to at the end of the day is the real impact. It's not the big number. It's the number multiplied by the probability equals a sum. Bayesian analysis was brought into debate by one of the smartest people of all time. That's the same person who saved the economy. He is also the same person who invented the Malthus disadvantage. So picture this. The inventor of the Malthus disadvantage saved the United States economy. I swear to God it's true. Because I was there when he invented the Malthus disadvantage. And I have seen what happened and who called him to come out of retirement to save the United States economy when it was on the brink of collapse. And he did it. So, the inventor of the Malthus disadvantage saved the United States economy. He also brought probability times impact and impact times probability into the debate process. The idea is understand that you can debate impacts in terms of timeliness, probability, and impact. Here is, and you should understand this, here is how you become an effective advocate. You become an effective advocate by being complete in your argument. Completeness means you make the argument. Completeness means you prove the argument. And completeness really means that the proven argument that you have made is shown to be important or impactful in the outcome of the debate. It's not enough just to make an argument. You have to make that argument important in relationship to the debate itself. The other focus of debate is to be clear. Why I loved judging Tyler Thurr. He was clear. God, yes, he was slow, but he was clear. I'm old. I could barely understand people. But by God, I could understand Tyler Thurr. He is good. To be clear means to be organized. To be clear means to be understood, which means you as an advocate make a connection with your judge. Look at the judge. See what the reaction is. The eyes are the window to the soul and the mind. If you are looking at the judge and making eye contact without staring at the judge and scaring him off or her off, it becomes important. Make that connection. Get the feel for what is happening. Don't just read into your computer screen. Lastly, by being clear, you are the person in the room that identifies the points of clash. You are the person in the debate that says, they said X, we say Y, and Y matters more because. You identify the point of clash, and then you expand on that by explaining the why of what you're saying matters more. Here's the science of effective argument. Effective argument is a science. Make your arguments, prove your arguments, and have evidence quality that matters. In today's debate world, the quality of your evidence matters. But it's up to you to explain to the judge why your evidence is of superior quality. Never leave it up to the judge to decide whose evidence is better. Make the judge understand why your evidence is better than the other side. Remember what you need to do. You need to answer the other team's arguments. Even if you don't deny their arguments, you need to explain why yours are more important, or why, because of their arguments, you win the end game. And finally, you've got to know where the debate's going to be at the end. You know that at the start. You know, particularly after the 1NC is done, what arguments you're going to need to win the debate. You'll know if you're the neg what happens in the 2AC is going to matter in terms of how you structure your block. But more importantly, how you structure your 2NR. What will win you the debate, avoid what will lose you the debate. And you've got to develop a theme. And you must fit your argument package into the theme. Here's the little techniques that differentiate the great debaters from the debaters. One of the best debaters I ever heard doing this was a guy named Jack Ewing, who wound up debating for Loyola. Jack was kind of weird, but Jack was really good. Comparing. Telling people why your evidence, arguments, impacts are bigger, faster, better, or more likely matters. It's not just what you say, but why you say what you say is more important than what they have said. You have to contrast your evidence or your link stories, why your link stories are more probable. And you have to conclude. It's not enough to just leave things hanging. You have to take what you have said and make it important. Have an effective and compelling summary. Listen, answer, respond. It can't be that what they say and what you say go in two different directions. You must know that what you say has an effect on what they say. By contrast, you also must know that what they have said will have an effect on what you are going to say. It becomes critical to your future success as a debater that you make your stuff more important to the judge than the other side of stuff. 2 rules to remember. The best debaters are the best listeners. And if you cannot debate, you cannot become president. Except in one instance. My son, when he was starting this activity, it was a presidential election year. And for the Senate in California, there were big debates, and for the presidency, there were big debates. And he had this revelation when we were watching television. He said, gee, Dad, I got to debate because I can't ever become president if I don't know how to debate. And it's true. Politics now is about this debate stuff. If you want to run for office, you're going to be in the public sphere. You will have an advantage. You may never want to run for office. That's okay. You may never want to be part of the biopolitical process that burdens everyone and is going to create genocide everywhere. You may not want to be part of that. That's okay too. But the idea is to understand debate matters. And being able to articulate a vision of the world as you want it to be, whether it's with your spouse, your children, your grandchildren, your friends, your enemies, or the public at large, understands that you first have to listen to what the other side is saying in order to be able to refute it. And maybe you even want to accept it and make it better. But without debate, there are certain things that you will never be able to do as effectively as with debate. Debaters. Debaters decided who became president of the United States in the year 2000. Debaters had arguments in front of the Supreme Court of Florida, and 2 debaters had arguments in front of the United States Supreme Court. One of those debaters lost. That was David Boies, B-O-I-E-S. He lost defending Al Gore and saying that hanging chads mattered or didn't matter. And the Supreme Court said it's up to the state of Florida to decide, and the state of Florida decided. In that decision, David Boies was opposed by Ted Olson. David Boies debated at the University of Redlands in the mid-60s. He was not as good a debater as Ted Olson was in the mid-70s. Ted Olson debated at Boston University. He represented President Bush in the Bush versus Gore lawsuit. Ted Olson, he was okay, but he was certainly better than David Boies as a debater. I never lost to Ted. He was good. He was in the semifinals on the other side of the bracket at the NDT in 1975. Look it up, Boston University. Ted Olson was a debater. Not only were debaters deciding who became president in the year 2000, a debater was the head honcho behind the impeachment trial defense of President Clinton after he got impeached. President Clinton was impeached. President Clinton was not convicted. The person who was White House counsel during the defense of the impeachment trial that orchestrated everything so that David Boies could run it was a gentleman by the name of Mark Fabiani. Mark Fabiani debated at Redlands from 1976 through 1979. Mark Fabiani was one of the best debaters of all time. Mark Fabiani had one disadvantage. I was his coach his freshman year in college. That was his disadvantage. A debater is out there deciding not only who gets to be president in 2000, but who got to stay president of the United States in 1996, 7, and 8. Debate does have an impact and make a difference. A debater saved the United States economy. The debater who saved the United States economy is named Larry Summers. Larry Summers debated at MIT, graduated in 1975. I never lost to Larry Summers. One of the most depressing days of my life was walking out of 7-Eleven with change from my drink that I bought, Slurpee at the time. See, I drink too many Slurpees. Walk out with change, and the cashier gives me a $1 bill, and I look down, and there on my $1 bill is Larry Summers' name. See, because Larry Summers also became Secretary of the Treasury under President Clinton. He was not only called back by President Obama to figure out how to save a collapsing economy, he was Secretary of the Treasury. The Secretary of the Treasury signs your $1 bills. I look down and I see Larry Summers' name, and I go, oh my God, not Larry Summers. I used to kick the crap out of him. How can he be on my money? It was a sad day for me to know that Larry Summers saved the economy and his name is on my $1 bill. But it was a debater who did that. Debaters are the people in the United States right now and in constitutional law who best understand the Constitution. The greatest constitutional law scholar of the generation ahead of me is a professor at Harvard named Larry Tribe. Larry Tribe was a top speaker at the National Debate Tournament. Larry Tribe got so many debaters into Harvard Law School, it isn't even funny. You'll see him on MSNBC or CNN. You'll never see him on Fox, but you'll see him on MSNBC or CNN. Larry Tribe is, of the prior generation, the single greatest constitutional law scholar of that generation. The single greatest con law scholar of my generation is a gentleman named Erwin Chemerinsky. Erwin Chemerinsky debated at Northwestern, graduated in 1975. I defeated Erwin Chemerinsky in the final round, in the semifinal round of Novice Nationals, and I never lost to Erwin Chemerinsky. Erwin Chemerinsky is now writing all of these great articles about debate and about Constitution, and he writes books, and he's unbelievably well accepted. Me, I'm just a lawyer. Debaters decide who comes into the country and who doesn't come into the country. You all, those of you who read Hoya Spartan Scholars, heard from Neil Katyal, who debated at Dartmouth. He's one of the people who is taking on the immigration policy. But a little known fact is that the judge, James Robards, in Seattle, was the judge who issued the first injunction against the immigration travel ban. James Robards debated at Whitman College before he went to law school and went on the bench. Debaters still, now are all the greats debaters? No, other people are there okay too. I mean, I've never known a Lincoln Douglas debater to do anything, or the only Parley debater I know is Ted Cruz, so that's probably a strike. Well, never. But not only does debate, in terms of debaters, do things, and not only are they out there, let me tell you a story about the affirmatives that were big in my era. One affirmative. And you can't believe this because it happens, and it is the status quo now. but it wasn't. We never used to have seat belts in cars. Never. One of the great affirmatives of all time in 1972 and 73 and 70 was seat belts in automobiles. It was an affirmative. Require the government, federal government, to put seat belts in cars. Believe it or not, that was the affirmative. The debaters who had that as their affirmative, some of them went to Harvard Law School. Some of them, because of the tribe connection, after Harvard Law School, went to become advisors or consultants or staffers at the Senate, United States Senate for Ted Kennedy. The reason why we have seat belts in automobiles today is because the debaters who advocated that on the affirmative went into the halls of Congress not as Congress people, but as staffers, and told their Congress people, hey, this is a good idea. The next wave of affirmatives was about airbags. Believe it or not, back in the 70s, we never had airbags in cars. Teams from Redlands and Georgetown decided to advocate for automobiles having airbags. That was their affirmative. The big negative against airbags in cars, check this out, well, if drivers feel safer, they'll drive more recklessly. And if they drive more recklessly, we'll have more accidents, because people will feel safer. The negative counterplan was to only put the airbags on the passenger side. Interesting how this approach worked, but the debaters who advocated for airbags in automobiles went to Harvard Law School, got connected up with the United States Senate, became staffers, and in the next couple of years, guess what? Legislation was passed putting airbags in automobiles, and countless lives have been saved by airbags ever since. The affirmative my year that we advocated for was an independent Department of Justice. And you wonder why I pick on topicality. You wonder why I don't think I care about that. Here's the topic my senior year of college. All right, listen to this. Resolve that the power of the presidency should be significantly curtailed. Resolve that the power of the presidency should be significantly curtailed. Tell me what's not topical under that topic. Everything is not topical. Everything's topical under that topic. We argued about FDA regulations. We argued about eliminating the CIA. We argued about restricting immigration. We argued our affirmative that year was a requirement that we have an independent Department of Justice. See, debate is very, very, very timely. Does anybody know what happened in August of 1974? Yes?
Portugal let go of the colonies.
Yeah, it did. And you know why? Because President Nixon resigned. Portugal let go of its colonies. Yes, Portugal might have let go of its colonies. But President Nixon resigned in August of 1974. And we were debating in 1974, starting in September, and passing through until April, the power of the presidency being restricted. Our affirmative was to employ and create an independent Department of Justice or a special prosecutor's office. Because the power of the president to remove the Attorney General and the director of the FBI was an important ingredient as to why President Nixon exerted too much presidential authority. So our affirmative was to create special prosecutors that the president could not fire. Lo and behold, my partner, who went to Harvard Law School and who wound up working at the United States Senate for 2 years after law school, participated in refining and creating the legislation that led to all of the eventual appointment powers for special prosecutors. So debate, did debate create those things? No. But debaters do things in life. There are debaters now who, when they hear about an immigration ban, go to airports as lawyers and try to defend people who are here in the United States. The woman who led that charge was a debater. Is it debate that gets people there? Probably not, but it certainly is associated. Debaters like Rashid Campbell changed lives in San Francisco with fulfilling the Black Lives Matter arguments to high school students. Debaters do things that matter, and that's my challenge to you. While debate will end, debating for you never should end. You should teach it at your school. You should teach it to your brothers and sisters. You should teach it to your children when you have them. After you're done debating, never let debate end. You should use debate. Use what you have learned to organize an essay and create a powerful, persuasive essay in your English or your history or your government classes. Use debate lessons rather than arguing in anger or even sarcasm. Use debate lessons in your relationships with others. And use it when you go home to try to convince your parents to send you to more tournaments. Greatest card ever written. Policy debates save the world. The only lessons about debate that ever made a difference in preventing nuclear war can be found in this piece of evidence. The lessons debate teaches have the only proven external impact by history at the most vulnerable time in the history of the world. The most vulnerable time in the history of the world was the Cuban Missile Crisis. Ask David Strauss. The only impact that really matters is Russian nuclear war. Ask David Strauss. He'll tell you that's really the only impact that matters. Because only Russia and the United States can end everything. Russian nuclear war almost happened in 1961. If you do this googly thing and Google Tim Russert, Ted Sorensen, Doris Kearns Goodwin, Meet the Press, May 19th, 2008, you will see an interview by Tim Russert of Ted Sorensen, and that interview talks about the Cuban Missile Crisis. Ted Sorensen was in the Situation Room at the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Tim Russert asks Ted Sorensen in this interview, which is published, how did you ever figure out getting Khrushchev to turn the ships around before they reached the bright red line? And Ted Sorensen literally says, I thought back to my days in high school debate in Nebraska. And we had this technique where the other side would present their plan, and we would kind of reformulate it and convince the judge that this was a better way of accomplishing what the other side, what the affirmative wanted to say. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you that counterplan saved the world. They come back from commercial break. Tim Russert literally says, here we are in a fascinating interview with someone who is in the Situation Room talking to Bobby and Jack Kennedy at the most desperate time humanity has ever faced. And he thinks back on his days as a debater in Nebraska and taking a lesson that he learned from debate, he makes a proposal to Khrushchev. And Khrushchev accepts the proposal with minutes to go and turns the ships around. And debate saved the world. There's not a critique alternative that ever did that. There's not a topicality argument that ever did that. A counterplan prevented nuclear war. I'm done, but I want to explain something to you. Your objective for many of you in this room is to get here. This is called Ashland. It's where Henry Clay is. It's in Lexington, Kentucky. And this is Elliot Horan, who is Michael Wimsatt's partner. Michael looks shorter than Elliot because Michael is in a wheelchair. Michael is tied for my favorite debater of all time. Michael just finished his career getting hosed by Will Repko in the semis of the NDT, and 6 other judges, debating for Berkeley. Michael is the young man that I talked about. His goal when we started was to get to the TOC. Your goal might be to get to the TOC. David Glass tells me that Michael's better goal is to live to the age of 21 because of the disease that he has. Many of you think you live for debate. Many of you will live for debate for a while. David Glass, who is the world's leading authority on the disease that Michael has, told me at the Harvard debate tournament that Michael lived to the age he was living to because of debate. Yet, Michael never wanted to be known as the debater in the wheelchair. He refused to run Space Disabilities app because he looked at me and he said before round 5 against Margaret and Donnie, he said, by the time I'm done, Mr. Smelko, I don't want to be known as the debater in the wheelchair. I want to be known as a debater. Be known as a debater, even if you're an advocate for personal change or for anti-racism or for preventing structural violence or for politics disadvantage. Be known as a great debater by being honest and trustworthy. Now, the second person up there is tied for my favorite debater. That's my son. My son and I write this book called Debate 101 every year. We change it, we send it out, we don't charge money for it, we give it to you if you want it. I think they posted it on the website. Take it, use it, send it to your parents, give it to them because they need to know what you're doing. Give it to your coaches so that you can help them teach. Take it with you. It is very bland and conservative, but it's like 65 single-spaced pages. Here's how debate works. Not how debate should work, not how debate must work, but here's how it actually does work. Use it and explain debate to other people. I put my son up there because he went to one college tournament. He debated with a young man named Jacob Poland, who eventually won the Copeland Award, debating for UC Berkeley. He got done at this tournament at Berkeley, and we went up to watch the tournament at Pepperdine. And he got done, and he says, Dad, I don't think I need to do this anymore. I said, okay, you don't want to debate, you don't have to debate. I mean, hell, here he was. If he's just as good as I am, he was better, he one ballot away from winning the NDT. He's 3 stupid judges who should burn in hell away from winning the NDT. That's where he was. And he just said, I don't want to do this anymore. And that's okay. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. But I said, son, you have to do something. So instead, after a circuitous relationship of playing club baseball and having club baseball team be canceled, and him figuring out through his debate research how club sports at Berkeley were funded, he said, I think I'm going to run for student senate. I said, son, you're white, you're male, you're straight, you're not going to win. He said, nah, I've got to figure it out. So he ran for student senate, coming from out of nowhere, won, became one of the 20 senators. And that year he saw what the student government could do at Berkeley. And so he took debate, and then he looked at me, and and by the way, he became the liaison with club sports, and figured out that he was going to cancel club sports funding unless they had baseball. And guess what? They had baseball the next year. It's amazing how politics works. He decided, he says, Dad, I think I'm going to run for student body president here at Berkeley. So he runs for student body president. By the time he was done as student body president, they had done something that student body presidents had been trying for 25 years to do, which is redo all of Lower Sproul Plaza, a $300 million project. He had become a phenomenal advocate for the free speech movement, despite riots, etc., that are going on. He had learned how to become a hostage negotiator because the chancellor of the University of California and all the really smart people couldn't figure out how to get 43 people who were occupying one of the halls in the campus out without having a riot occur. And they looked at my son and said, well, how would we do this? And he said, well, you know, in debate, we used to just convince people by giving them an alternative. The counterplan saved Berkeley's campus. So the president and chancellor of the university said, okay, Smelko, you go up and fix this problem. as he was leading the occupiers of the building out to cheers among the crowd without them being in handcuffs. They went their separate way, everybody else went away, and the campus was saved. Debate works in mysterious ways. He's now trying to solicit money and do all kinds of things. And through debate, he started his own research into his own organic supplements company. All natural products, all plant-based, no synthetics. How do you do that? Never took a science class, wasn't a business major, but debate and the tools and techniques that he learned in debate helped him develop an idea, which is sustainable nutrients for other people. And so that's what his company is. My charge to you, because I'm done, is threefold. Number one, write this down. Call your parents tonight and say thank you. They have given you a wonderful opportunity to learn from some of the best people and greatest instructors in the country. You have some of the best people I know and the greatest instructors I am aware of leading labs at this institute. Call your parents and thank them for this opportunity. Charge number two, be honest, honorable, and ethical in your debate process. If you are honest, honorable, and ethical, you will always be known as an honest, honorable, and ethical person. And number three, enjoy yourselves. And let me give you my most sincere thanks for the attention you have paid to a very old man who is just a lawyer, who debated against some of the great people that saved our country, and who will continue to do that. Remember what debate can do. Debating ends, debate never should. Enjoy your debates, enjoy your senior and junior and sophomore years, or even your freshman year. But as you enjoy that, use debate in your lives to make the lives of other people better. Good night. Yes?
What happened with the greatest round?
Oh, the greatest round. Sam and Jake. CETA Nationals. Sam and Jake. Come to me beforehand, Mr. Smelko, we have to forfeit because I got to get home to my girlfriend's birthday party. Sam, are you going to let Jake do this? Sam says, yeah, I want to go to the birthday party too. I'm paying for it. Oh my God, okay, go in. They're debating Idaho State University. It's an elimination round. In the elimination round, Idaho State University was dominating the SETA world because they were random. Everything is random, nothing is certain. Randomness is the answer. And these two kids from Idaho State were cute. They were smart. They were funny. They were random. But then they ran into Sam and Jake. And Sam and Jake walked into the debate. And Sam and Jake listened to the randomness affirmative. And Sam and Jake, well, Jake stood up for cross-examination. And Jake took a quarter out of his pocket. And Jake said, hey, Mr. Random, call it in the air. You win, you win. You lose, you lose. In talking to the judge, one of the three judges after the round, packed room because it's randomness against, oh my God, it's randomness against weird. The judge tells me, Jake flips the coin in the air. It takes forever for the coin to land. The sound of the coin hitting the ground without Mr. Random calling heads or tails is deafening. The coin hits, boing, 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 and still nothing from Mr. Random. Mr. Random realizes what he did. Mr. Random starts crying. Sam and Jake were so good that even when they conceded the debate, they made their opponents leave winners in tears. That's the greatest way to finish a debate.